Well, here's just about the strangest re-release of them all. Pac-Man is Namco's first Famicom Disk System game. Okay, first that we've seen, there's another one they released on the same day that I'll pick up in the next video. And Namco is going to release a total of 6 Famicom Disk System games. All 6 are ports of their classic arcade games, and of course were released on the Famicom. They're mostly the ones that you'd guess, though shockingly Taro Jiraga is not among them. For this re-release of the Famicom version of Pac-Man, Namco made a change to the program code. There it is, right there. They changed the copyright date. Don't expect Namco to put in a lot of work to help Nintendo, after all. Frankly, it's amazing that Namco would do this much for them. Pac-Man, of course, is one of the definitive arcade games. It stands right next to Space Invaders and Pong as games that shaped everything. And when Namco brought this arcade masterpiece to home systems in 1984, well, they did a better job than the previous attempt to port it to a console. It has been very slightly scaled down for the Famicom's resolution, and in order to maintain the aspect ratio of the maze, they've put the status information like the score and lives remaining on the right-hand side. But the rest is really, really close to the arcade. For 1984, this was about as good as you were going to get when it came to playing Pac-Man in your own home. Of course, it's now 1990. In case you have somehow never encountered the concept of a video game before, your goal in Pac-Man is to steer the yellow chomping Pac-Man around the maze, gobbling up all of the dots and avoiding the ghosts that are chasing him. If you eat all of the dots, you've cleared the stage, and it restarts slightly harder. The big dots in the corner are energizers, and when Pac-Man eats one of those, the ghosts turn blue, and Pac-Man can eat them as well. The length of time that the ghosts remain blue shrinks with every stage, and the ghosts blink before they change back. The ghosts all emerge from the block in the middle, which Pac-Man can't enter, and the ghosts return to that block after they get eaten. Right below that block, a fruit or other item will occasionally appear, and eating these are worth bonus points. Which item changes with which stage you're on, and of course the points increase as you get further in stages. All of the ghosts have their own unique patterns. The red ghost, Akabe, tends to pursue Pac-Man directly, while the pink ghost, Pinky, targets its movement in squares ahead of Pac-Man. The distinct behaviors of the ghosts give Pac-Man a really dynamic feel, but because they're all predetermined, it isn't really. You can learn patterns to get through any stage flawlessly every time. There are a few cutscenes that are carried over from the arcade version. These appear after you've cleared certain stages. But this is all there is to it. Pac-Man is popular, and has remained popular for 40 years, because of how simple it is. Anybody can watch Pac-Man being played for 15 seconds, and know everything they need to play the game. Pac-Man's endured because it's easy to adapt these concepts. We get a new Pac-Man every couple of years now, putting a little twist on the game because it's so adaptable. Pac-Man might not be a major franchise anymore, but Pac-Man itself shall endure for as long as people play games on screens. Naturally, the Disk System version was a flop and is incredibly rare. After all, if you wanted to play Pac-Man at this point, you could just buy the Famicom cartridge for 500 yen. So no matter how beloved this version of Pac-Man is, and it is very well loved, the Disk System release wasn't really doing anything. As for my take, Pac-Man's good. Play Pac-Man. Both the Famicom and Famicom Disk System versions of Pac-Man are reasonable enough. In fact, if you've ever encountered it on one of those miniature arcade machines, it's probably running this version. You can't go wrong with Pac-Man. You probably don't need to sit down and play it for an extended session, but then Pac-Man is designed so you'll play it for 5 minutes and then be done. It is a solid port of an absolute classic arcade game. Though if you prefer a different version, I certainly understand.